Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. You know, it's possible to stand up for your rights without acting like a jerk, right? The person from our first story apparently didn't, but the two aren't mutually exclusive. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Am I being detained? So we all know those skits that tell you to be a royal jerk to a cop in any situation, such as, am I being detained, or am I under arrest, or I know my rights. Well, a family friend of mine is a law enforcement officer, Leo. Let's call him Joe. He pulled over a guy for speeding. He was doing 63 in a 50. Oftentimes, my friend says he'll mark down the speed, or if you're really nice and it's a good day, he'll let you off with a warning. Basically, he's not an a-hole. So back to the story. He pulls over this guy and goes up to the window and immediately notices the window's just cracked. This is just a pain in the butt. My friend says, "Sir, can you please roll down your window?" For a future response, we'll call this guy Jerk. Well, Jerk argued why he shouldn't have to roll down his window. However, eventually my friend won out on the argument. Jerk then made a comment, "You should be out there solving real crimes instead of meeting your quota." To which Joe responded, "Sir, I'm going to be conducting a safety inspection of your vehicle in accordance with state and local laws to ensure your vehicle meets the standards to be driven on public roads." Jerk looked at him for a moment and said, "Can you do that?" Which he actually can. In fact, they just recently received training on how to conduct such an inspection, and my friend advised him of the fact. And so the inspection began. License plate lights not functioning, left rear turn signal did not function, right front turn signal did not function, right front headlight did not function, tread on rear two tires did not meet safety requirements, also uneven wear on front tires indicates an alignment problem, no ticket for this though, horn on vehicle did not function. After the inspection was finished, Joe said, "Sir, you understand it's my job to enforce the law, correct?" Jerk says, "Yes." Joe fired back, "Then in accordance with the law, I'll be issuing you a ticket for speeding. I'll also be issuing you fix-it tickets for all the safety violations which surfaced in your vehicle inspection." Joe went back to his car and began writing out the tickets, handed them to Mr. Jerk, and advised him on the details and wished him a pleasant weekend. And our second story. Bitter entitled neighbor tries to seek revenge on my elderly friend. Fails every time. This is not my story, but a friend of mine, who we'll call Hilda. Hilda and I would meet every morning with a group of owners at the dog park before self-isolation was in effect. Now, there's not a lot of detail as Hilda's straight-to-the-point kind of storyteller, and this happened a good few years ago. Hilda's an elderly widow, and she lives alone but has two gorgeous German shepherds who are very well trained. They don't bark, good listeners, and even walk off leash with no fear of running too far away. She had a next-door neighbor, Bob, who was of similar age and lived with his wife. Bob is our entitled parent/grandparent. Now, since Hilda's dogs are so well-behaved, the local postmen have no issues with them and would even give them a quick pat. During one of her walks with the dogs, Hilda walked past Bob's house and offered a wave, but Bob just looked at her. Not too long after they got home from their walk, Hilda was greeted by a police officer at her door. P.O. Officer H. Hilda. P.O. Good afternoon. How are you today? H. Good, thank you. Can I help you? P.O. We got an anonymous tip about your dogs acting aggressively towards the postman and your neighbors. H. That can't be right. Are you sure they're my dogs? P.O. You own two German shepherds, right? May I see them? H. You mean these dogs? Hilda called her two boys over, who then proceeded to greet the officer with tail wags and happy-derpy faces. She even showed him how well-trained they were. The officer shook his head, told her not to worry about it, and to have a good night. Hilda figured out that Bob phoned in the bogus tip when she realized he was the only one in the neighborhood who saw her with the dogs. Now, I don't know how long it was since that incident, but Hilda found meat in her backyard, spoiled rotten meat. Of course, dogs can eat raw old meat, but I'm pretty sure meat with green discoloration isn't good for them. Hilda caught Bob's grandchildren throwing the meat over the fence with his wife providing it. She didn't blame the kids as they were young and probably thought it was a game, but she called the non-emergency police line and explained the situation, including the previous incident. Bob and his wife were only left off with a warning and a fine, as I guess it was considered either littering or destruction of property. I'm not sure. The final incident that wrapped everything up in a nice big bow was when Bob went on a full Jack Nicholson screaming rant in the middle of the street in front of Hilda's house. I wish I could tell you what he said, but not even Hilda knew what he was on about, as she just called the police as Bob was making threats and threatening gestures towards her house. Bob resisted arrest and was eventually taken away. After that, Hilda didn't know what happened to Bob and his wife. They just stopped living next door. She still was baffled why they targeted her until a mutual friend of Hilda and Bob mentioned something that jogged her memory. Bob and Hilda met each other way before they became neighbors. He'd actually asked her out on a date, but she wasn't interested. 30 years ago. This man got married, had children, had grandchildren, but needed to seek some sort of revenge on the woman who turned him down 30 years ago. Whilst Hilda did all the same, but didn't even remember who he was. I love Hilda. That's just another level of pathetic. How small of a man he must be. Seriously. And our next story. Do you know who I am? I sign your paycheck. I work at a family-owned alarm company that deals with many small businesses. Not quite retail, but I deal with many customers every day. During the weekend shifts, we're slammed with alarms in the morning, with stores and companies opening and families leaving their homes. One Saturday morning, we were completely overwhelmed with alarms, and there were only 2 of us there at work that day. All of a sudden, we get a call from an irate woman. Let's call her IW. Me. Alarm company, this is OP. How may I help you? IR. Yeah, I'm at the pharmacy and the alarm just went off and no one has called or responded. Why not? Me. Okay, what's the address of your location and what's your name? IW. I'm at Small Town Pharmacy. Me. Okay, what's the address? IW. I don't know the address. Normally people who are workers know the address of their work site, so a red flag went up in my mind. Also, I was trying to find the pharmacy in our system and it wasn't coming up. Me. Well, I don't see the pharmacy in our system. Are you a key holder? Key holders are people who are the only ones on the account that can dismiss an alarm of any kind. IW. I am not a key holder, but the alarm is going off, and you didn't call here. Now, I'm worried something weird is going on. She might not be robbing the place, but something shady's going on. Me. Ma'am, I don't see the pharmacy's name in our system, and you don't know the address, and since you aren't a key holder, I cannot look up the account. We also haven't gotten an alarm for any pharmacy today. IW. Do you know who I am? I sign your paychecks. You should be worried. Then she hung up. I was happy to have her off the line because we were slammed. She called back an hour later, not to apologize. Oh no, she called back to let us know that she would be calling our manager. Turns out she was a woman who works for the same company I work for, and she works in payroll, but in another building, 2 hours away, in another state. She was at a random pharmacy in her town using their bathroom, and their alarm went off, and she just assumed we monitored their building. We do not monitor that pharmacy, which is why I couldn't find it in our system, and that's why we didn't call them. And to top it off, she works in payroll, but she doesn't sign my paycheck. I can't wait to quit this job. And our last story. Entitled Dad thinks he can use our driveway because his dad is rich. Note, this happened maybe 2 years ago, so all the details are rather fuzzy. Background. My family has a beach house about an hour away from where we live. It's a little retreat we do every other weekend or so just to get away from it all. It's in a private community and we've been having problems of people parking in our driveway and blocking it off from us actually using the driveway, so we put up cameras and a sign to warn that we would call police since it was trespassing on our property. This was before the cameras, though. Mom equals my annoyed mother. ED equals entitled dad. EG equals entitled girlfriend. Okay, so it was an extended weekend where me and my family decided to go down for the time being. My sister and father couldn't get out of work early, but my mother and I we work in the same building. We were the first there, and after an hour-long drive, only to see that half of our driveway and carport was taken up by some van. Annoyed, we parked, unloaded, and waited for the owner, entitled Dad, to come back. About 30 minutes later, nothing. My mom decides to go looking for them on the beach, but I don't follow. I'm not a fan of walking on the beach because they don't clean it. but not of litter. It's actually broken shells and a lot of driftwood. Good place to find shark teeth, though. About 20 minutes pass and my mom comes back, looking really annoyed. I was told from what I remember that the conversation went like this. Mom, excuse me, we saw that your car was in our driveway and was wondering if you could move it. ED, no, it's fine where it is. Why do you need to have it moved? Mom, my husband's on his way here and he can't get in with your car in the way. ED, well, he can park in front of the beach access path. The beach wasn't chained off, but there was a walkway near our driveway that transitioned to sand faster than the rest of our yard, as there were plants and thorns hidden in the rest of the transition. Mom, we don't like that being blocked because then people walk through our yard and through the thorns. Please move your car. Entitled girlfriend, please, our kid is trying to enjoy the beach. ED, yeah, and my dad's part of this community and rich. It's fine that I parked there. He was rich or he was part of the HOA. I can't quite remember. Mom, I don't care. Move your car. She was very mad at this point. ED eventually and begrudgingly agreed and said he would be there soon, but not after saying he would tell his dad about this and that he would call the police and press charges. My mom came back 45 minutes past. They were like 10 minutes down the beach, and they finally walk up and move the car as my dad called and said he was maybe 5 or 10 minutes away. The police never came, and the subject was never mentioned by the HOA. I'd love to hear that call to the police. Yeah, hi, this guy's trying to force us to move our car out of his driveway. So let me get this straight. You parked in his driveway? Do you have permission? Well, no, but... Sir, you need to move your car. If you're blocking his driveway without permission, he can have you towed. How dare you? I'll have you fired. I know the chief of police, and my father is rich. Hey guys, thank you for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.